Welcome to the official YouTube channel of Eternia.com. I'm your host AJ, and today we're doing an unboxing and a mini review of the Masterverse, Masters of the Universe, New Adventures of He-Man, Wave 9 Skeletor figure. Now, if we're going in chronological order of waves, this marks the 6th time that Skeletor has ever been realized in Masterverse Plastic. 8th time if you're counting Skelegod and you're counting the Virgil Abloh art figure. But this figure has been a long time coming. If you remember, he was first announced in October 2022 during the 40th anniversary press and influencer event over at Mattel. And then since then, it's taken 10 to 11 months to get here. But it's finally here, and I'm very excited about it. Now, why to the left and the right, I have these classic figures of the Filmation Skeletor, you know, two different representations of the Skeletor from the 1983 Filmation series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, is because this was my Skeletor back in the day. It didn't get better than this Skeletor for me. And when it came to the New Adventures animated series, though, I wasn't really a fan. But I was always somewhat intrigued with this cybernetic enhanced Skeletor, at least the idea of it. Now, the vintage figure really didn't get my juices flowing, but I always thought there was potential there for a real great figure and a real great character, you know? And even though I wasn't a fan of the New Adventures series, you know, there was actually two origins, right, for this character. We had the New Adventures of He-Man, and then we had the mini comics origin. And I always kind of leaned more closer to the mini comics origin where, I don't know, due to the power of Grayskull, Skeletor was gravely injured. He escapes on a pod, travels through time, and then repairs his injuries in the future with all these cybernetic enhancements. And there's a real neat concept there, but I don't think it's ever been realized to its full potential. But I think this figure might have finally done it, so I can't wait to take a look at it. But before we take a look at this figure, let's do what we normally do, take a closer look at this packaging. So let's get this New Adventures Skeletor packaging turned around. Actually, before we turn it around real quick, we're going to be saying goodbye to this packaging soon. You know, this is going to be considered classic Masterverse packaging, and this is being retired in lieu for an updated version that's coming out Wave 11 in 2024. So I guess we'll cover it in a different video, but I just wanted to mention that. But let's take a look at this fantastic Masterverse artwork as usual. This time the artist is Simon Eckert, and he's done a fabulous job as usual. On the profile here we have New Adventures Skeletor, and it looks like maybe an explosion behind him. I mean, it could be a portal, but it really looks like an explosion behind him. And then on the back, you know what's interesting is there's no bio here. This kind of looks more like a international packaging or something like this. And this was bought in Target in New Jersey. But, yeah, I kind of miss having the bio, so I'm not sure what's up with that. But the artwork is great, and I guess there's less time needed to spend on the packaging. So why don't we get the figure out of the box and take a closer look. So here is the Masterverse Wave 9 New Adventures Skeletor out of the box, and he's looking great here. Look at the proportion. Look how fantastic he looks. I think this is the New Adventures Skeletor that everyone's been waiting for. And what I mean is, you know, if you look at the vintage toy, look, I am a big fan of a lot of classics figures. I own a lot of classics figures. Even those two Skeletors that I showed in the beginning of this video, classics figures. But the classic New Adventures Skeletor, oh my gosh, that was a mess to me. I mean, when I first looked at the head sculpt, I was like, yeah, this head sculpt looks great. But then I went to the body and I'm like, whoa, was he stung by a bee? And did he swell up? I mean, he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but more massive and then more massive again. He looked like he was just pumped full of like these bulky steroids and looked nothing like we saw in the cartoon, looked nothing like we saw in the mini comic, looked nothing like we saw in the vintage figure. He was just too huge and too massive. But check out this proportion. This looks like the vintage figure. This looks like the real character. So how great is this? All right, so let's get him off this dais here and let's take a closer look at that head sculpt. So here's a closer look at that head sculpt and helmet sculpt and paint application for new Adventures Skeletor's head. And how awesome is that? How great does he look? And look at the color yellow they use. Why can't they use that for the Revelation subline on those Skeletors? He just looks fantastic. I love it. And those red eyes. Let's remove the helmet. Look at that head. Look how great this looks. Wow. And then the back of the head. You know what that reminds me of? You ever watch Mad Max 2? You know, the Road Warrior, you know, Lord Humongous. You know, there's been too much violence, too much pain. Just walk away. Or even Bane from Dark Knight Rises. It was always hard to understand what he was saying. I like that movie, though. This just looks fantastic. Well done, Mattel. So just looking at the overall body of New Adventures Skeletor, and he's looking great. He's got his iconic blue skin, and this has like some sort of dirty wash to it. And then, you know, you can see the cybernetic enhancements here, all painted silver in the body here. And you can see the cybernetic enhancements in the arm too. And, you know, if you say, hey, why aren't these painted, you know, like on the legs? And why aren't these painted on the arms? If I remember correctly, on the vintage figure, they weren't painted that way either. So this would be an accurate representation of the vintage figure, where it's only actually silver on the torso, and then it's just normal body color on the rest. But boy, is this looking fantastic. And I love the sculpted skulls here. Here, and then you have the little rivets and stuff. And it's... this is such a good looking figure. Love the toes. The toes are just like the vintage figure too. It's just, it's so funny, these boots. And boy, does he look good. And this cape, right? Soft goods cape. Looks like it's a little ring. Yeah, you could take the head off, I'm sure, and take the cape off if you wanted to. I think on the Classics figure, you know, this cape was actually attached to these different skulls. But if I remember correctly, on the vintage figure, it was wrapped around the neck just like this. Maybe not like a ring, but it was just like a hole in the cloth. But this is, I think, an exact representation, really, of what we got in the vintage figure. And it's really good looking. And other than that, I don't see any restrictions in regards to articulation. You're going to get that great 30 points of articulation. Yeah. And, man, this is a great looking figure. So I took the cape off of New Adventures Skeletor for a minute, and I just want to marvel at this figure, and I want to specifically talk about its sculpting. I think about, I would say 85% of this figure is entirely new sculpting. I would say except for the upper thighs and the knees and the calves and the hands, everything else is a new sculpt. I believe these gloves here is new sculpting. I don't think I've seen that before. And then definitely the forearms with the bionic circuitry and the elbows and the biceps and the shoulders. And then the buck, you have all this circuitry here. Look at the back. It's just like all infused into his vertebrae. And man, he's really like this cyborg. And same thing with the lower thighs. And these boots are brand new. And these feet are brand new. I mean, this is just a marvelous job by Mattel. And like I said, it's about 85% brand new. So maybe this is why the figure took so long. But great job. Love it. So in regards to accessories, New Adventures Skeletor comes with these two closed punching hands. Comes with the helmet that we looked at before. This great sculpted helmet. And then comes with his skull staff. It's no longer a Havoc staff, but it's a skull staff. Check that out. Great sculpting. It's got a nice metallic paint to it. But what a great sculpt. Can stab people. Such a good accessory. So here's a little size comparison between New Adventures Skeletor and New Adventures He-Man. And if you can tell, New Adventures Skeletor has a slight height advantage over He-Man. So you better look out, buddy. So what do I think of the Masters of the Universe Masterverse Wave 9 New Adventures of He-Man Skeletor figure? I think this figure is brilliant. Look, if you're a fan of the New Adventures of He-Man, this is the Skeletor you've been waiting for. But even if you're not a fan, this is a terrific executed figure. I mean, I love these cybernetic enhancements. I mean, this is a brand new sculpt, pretty much from head to toe. This is a brand new Masterverse sculpt, and it's so well executed. From the boots to the feet to the face sculpt to the helmet to this great skull staff. I mean, it's just so well done, and I really recommend this figure, and I just love this cybernetically enhanced look. But this is a great figure. I highly recommend it, and hopefully you can find him soon and put it on your shelf too. So that's it. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
We are here to pump you up.